East Hampton Town, ZBA. We are live on the channel and YouTube. We are being recorded and streamed. Thank you very much for everything.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome everyone to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for August 13th, 2024. We have one canceled public hearing this evening, and that is Julian J. Mizierski III at 44 Beach Avenue, Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-175-3-10. So we'll go to our first scheduled public hearing this evening. And the applicant is Gabrielle Eichler and Douglas Newton at 73 Mako Lane in Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-175-6, there's 34.1. The size and location is 12,000 square feet at 73 Mako Lane, Beach Hampton, Section 5, Block 32, lots 35 and 38, 35 through 38, map number 1763 in Amagansett. The description is to construct a 178 square foot swimming pool with an additional 297 square feet of decking and pool fencing on a parcel of land containing wetlands, dune land, and beach vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town, and 3 variances are required for this application. Variances of 41 feet, 9 feet, and 1 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct the proposed pool fencing 59 feet, decking 91 feet, and swimming pool 99 feet from the freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. And council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
Yes, I've reviewed the affidavit of service and posting. Everything appears to be in order and the board has jurisdiction.
And I'm recusing myself from this application.
Thank you. Ms. Mehring is recused. Therefore, member Johan is going to do the report.
Right. Thank you. Here's the posting out in front of the active site. It's important to know that this site achieved administrative approval for the construction that we're going to be seeing that's currently ongoing. Next. Here I've looked south on Mako, and you can see that how it runs on down. Next. Get the neighborhood. Now I'm looking north, looking back up. Mako is going both directions. Next. I looked directly across. All you did was turn in that spot. That's a project immediately opposite of the project we're looking at tonight. Next. Now I just took a step or two to the side. You get a feeling for the scope of I'm standing in the road. You see the scope of the project, and they are under active construction at this moment. Next. Now, I've walked along the side of the house. What we have here is I'm on the north side of the house, and I'm looking straight back into the cleared area. I did make note of the fence to see that it was along the cleared line from whatever the clearing line that was allowed for the fencing, and I've taken a couple of shots of that. Next. I just turned when I get behind the house, and I'm looking off to the south from here, and just beyond this machine is when I'll have several shots of it, is where the proposed pool that's under discussion tonight is going to be placed. Next. This is right at the back of the property, and if I'm looking out this way, the wetlands are out in this direction on this property, and this is about as far as the fence extends. And I took this shot and then came back and tried to compare it with the clearing line, and it looks like it's very much very similar, if not exactly what was proposed. Next. Now I've turned and looked back at the house. Now we're going to see it again from another angle, but there's a bit of a notch to the house sitting underneath that second floor deck that you can see. And the pool is to go right behind where that machine is, and deck will go where that machine is. So what we're going to be discussing tonight is the placement of both the pool and the deck right to the rear of the house here. Next, please. I just looked south from here. That's the closest house. I'm standing, you can see the fence. I'm standing on the property, and through that variety of vegetation, there is a house that you can see that it's probably, I guessed, maybe 40 feet off the property line, maybe 70 feet from the pool. Next. Now Now I've turned, and this gives you a good idea exactly what we're talking about. You can see the overhang above, and right now the proposal is well, we brought that line down, we'd have decking, and the pool is to move to the right, more in line with that machine, and then decking would continue on across the back of the house in that direction. Next. Just another perspective to see it from a different angle now. We'll go back and see that if you think about the machine, there's going to be some of the proposed decking. Immediately behind it is where the pool is to go. Next. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have the agent here? How you doing, Andy?
Good evening, Chairman Deline, members of the board, Richard A. Hammer from Biano and Hammer. I'm here tonight representing the owners of the property, Gabby Eichler and Doug Newton. Gabby is here with me tonight, just in case you have any questions. I'm sort of pinch hitting for my esteemed colleague, Joel Halsey. He's leading such a fabulous life that he couldn't be here tonight. I do think I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention that our community lost somebody very important to this board, to this community, taught me everything I know about zoning and so much more. And I just wanted to extend my heartfelt appreciation for Phil Gamble, chairman of the board for decades, 24 years?
30 years.
30 years.
32,
Wow.
actually.
Amazing.
So, I don't know if you mentioned him last week, but I felt it's important that we all remember where we came from to where we're going. Gabby, as I mentioned, is here with me tonight. So neither of us are on the fabulous train that Joel's on, but neither of us have our kids with us. So maybe I spoke a little too soon. This is an unusual application and one that I feel more obligated to address the procedural aspects of how did we get here rather than the substantive wetlands discussion that are more typical of a zoning board meeting. I'm pretty familiar with this project. I remember when this house was first on the market, this house meaning the house that was originally there, and I did want to point out that Ed's photos look a little bit stark, and it looks like a meteor hit the property. That was where there was a house in that area that was removed. The Eichlers are full-time residents in East Hampton. They have 2 kids in school locally. They purchased this property, developed into their residence, and are underway in construction. I suppose that is why their project architects developed a plan that was issued an administrative permit expeditiously that we seek to revisit tonight. I had the same question that you might have. This plan is sensible and the relief requested tonight is pretty reasonable. Why was this not part of the first application? I think the answer solely came down to time and knowledge. Clearly, requesting a variance is a time element that varies. I would estimate it would at least add 8 months to the review and approval time. The house they purchased at this property was basically uninhabitable. During the purchase, they had inspection reports that showed mold and unfortunately lots of asbestos. Pretty common building material when this house was first built. You can actually remediate asbestos. It typically appears in flooring, gypsum boards, spackle, backing boards, shingles. But the cost to do this and replace it on this residence would essentially be a terrible waste of resources. The house was so non-conforming with respect to wetland setbacks and in a pretty terrible state of repair overall. It seemed like the better path forward was to demolish the residence, and that is about 59 feet from the wetland, and construct a new residence that met the required wetland and other dimensional setbacks. And that was the plan, which surprisingly they were able to do on this parcel. It provided a conforming building envelope. If you look at the surveys, and specifically I'd draw your attention to the one that depicts the proposed scenic easement, for reasons I don't understand, there were 2 surveys that had the same date. One shows the scenic easement that we are proposing on the rear of the property, so that one I draw your attention to. You can see the existing residential footprint from the prior residence. The project provided a significant improvement from the setbacks from wetlands. And as you can see from the photos that Ed showed, they're doing significant remedial work to restore that area where the residence was removed. However, as the Eichlers and Doug began to get acquainted with the house that's under construction, I think the owners began to sense that the rear of the house, which is in fact or would have in fact been the prior house, provided little to no outdoor space outside of the previously proposed and approved residence. They didn't want lawn, it would be out of character here, but having a few extra square feet of decking and a little bit more space, we're talking about shuffling the improvements by a few feet between the house and the pool would provide a little more relaxed feeling to these improvements and provide some extra utility for this area that is largely being restored to native dune vegetation. Perhaps the greatest change was to propose decking behind the approved porch on the rear of the house that extended into the wetland setback area by 9 feet. I present this application asking for a 1-foot variance for the pool to be constructed 99 feet from the wetlands and the deck to be 91 feet from the wetlands, along with the pool fencing that's basically proposed at the edge of the approved clearing line. That's to be contrasted with the 100-foot, which could be contrasted to the 100-foot originally proposed, but ultimately I think it should bears comparison to the house that was existing on this property 59 feet from the wetlands. In fact, the previously existing house would be the buffer between these improvements and the wetlands and the structures we propose tonight had it not been removed. I think the TAM puts this in proper perspective and suggests an analysis. Would this have been approved initially by the board? I think the trade-off of the removal of the existing residence and its sanitary system for this house with an updated sanitary that complies in all respects to the town code is a superior improvement that would justify accepting this project as compliant with the natural resource special permit standards and variance standards. We took an entire residence 59 feet from the wetlands and produced a new house that is fully code compliant other than what we're before you tonight, seeking approval for a small deck 91 feet from the wetlands. I would guess, looking at the wetland setback, that about half of it, maybe 165 square feet of this proposed deck is actually within the setback, and a small 1-foot variance for the corner of the pool. This is just providing a little bit more breathing room and utility for the rear of the property for the applicant to enjoy the balance of the improvements. The rest of the property is essentially going to remain completely undeveloped. We did propose a scenic easement across the 20-foot of the rear of the property adjacent to the closest wetlands in connection with this application, protecting this area from any development after the residence is removed and the area is regraded and planted in accordance with the prior permits. I think this is a significant mitigation measure that well offsets the grant of the requested de minimis variances. The variance standards would support this. The benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment. In fact, we don't think there is a detriment, just a net positive environmental impact when you view this project in totality. I did want to address the self-created hardship. In fact, we had previously proposed a house that required no relief at all, but this standard is not dispositive under the variance standards, and a full variance analysis requires a balancing test that supports our application and the grant of the relief requested tonight. Taken as a whole, the grant of this variance will provide this applicant, who has really done a great thing with this project, a tremendous benefit that won't result in any detriment to the wetlands on the property. In fact, I think this entire project, even including the variances requested tonight, is a net environmental improvement that is laudable to this area of the town. Other than that, I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
This might be a rhetorical question, but with the pool is essentially just moving a little bit further out from the house.
Moving to the south.
There's no additional clearing.
That is correct.
It's all within the scope of the original administrative, is just bumping out a little.
That is correct, but the board cannot grant a variance via the administrative process, so that's kind of one of the reasons that it was bifurcated in this fashion. I will say I don't think this was contemplated by the applicants when they submitted the administrative permit. I think it was more contemplated by on-site improvements and realizing what they were, the prior permit approved versus what they think would provide a little more utility here.
Any questions, board?
I do not have any. Just reiterate, the variance you're looking for the pool now is one foot?
That is exactly 1 foot. It's just a mere corner.
And the decking is 9. What's the date on this survey?
It's
I think
7/25.
yeah, it's
That is, I believe, the correct.
Yeah.
when is it last?
27/24.
That's the one I'm looking at. Right.
Got that scenic.
But there is a 7 one. There is a
I have 7/25/24.
yeah, but it doesn't have the easement on it.
Right. This has the easement and the revegetation, the 271.
Wait a minute.
August 6th.
No, there's
yes.
two 271s. I think
Yeah,
That's the confusion.
Yeah,
that's a confusion.
The
So,
revision date was not changed when they.
so it's the one with the easement, it's this, yeah.
so it's
Correct.
27, when was that received?
I think it was attached to your August 6th letter, where
Yes.
you
Yeah,
talk about agreeing to the scenic easement
yeah.
proposed by the planning department.
That's August 7th, yeah.
Yeah. That's the
August 6th is the data letter.
the letter, right.
Yes, it was the August 6th,
That's what I
2024
thought, okay.
submission.
Any other questions, board?
Just that the administrative application, which was approved and moved forward, didn't require any variances.
That is
So
correct.
there is this thought that at that time, if you had proposed what you propose now, you would have had to come in front of us. So I'm wondering, you've said that the process is when they looked at it, they decided to move out. Is that basically what happened here, that they analyzed the project after it was started and decided we need more room for the pool?
I think, yes, but when you look at it and see it as it lays out, and particularly now that it's actually framed, you can get a feeling for the aesthetic of what what was proposed versus what they would like to pursue on this property. And that, the Eichlers are not design professionals, they're the homeowner that hired a design team. And I think it was explained to them, and that's when they decided, hey, you know what, we think this would be a little bit more appealing for our family use.
Oh, you can't be on the record. You have to,
Come up.
thank you. Any other questions?
I do not.
Thank you.
We'll turn it over to Tyler.
Good evening, Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department.
Tyler, you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So the subject property is situated on the east side of Mako Lane in Amagansett. The property is currently before the ZBA seeking approvals in order to construct a proposed 178 square foot swimming pool and 290 square feet deck addition to a previously approved residence and decking within minimum setbacks to wetlands to the east. The parcel is in the Beach Hampton area of Amagansett. The Beach Hampton area was established in the early 1900s for cottage-style summer residences. The wetlands within jurisdiction of this property are quality wetlands, which have the potential to contain standing water throughout the year and can be expected to provide the same benefits that any quality freshwater wetlands have. These wetlands, like many in the Beach Hampton area, are especially important to the attenuation of floodwaters after rain events. The project is a fairly small change to an already existing approved improvements, which are now requires two variances. As originally approved in the 2023 administrative NRSP, no variance is required. The decking at that time was approved to be approximately 350 square feet at the rear of the residence, with the new decking and existing decking totaling approximately 650 square feet. The swimming pool has been proposed to be shifted slightly further east on the parcel and decking increased to match, pushing both the pool and the decking within minimum setbacks to wetlands. There's also a proposed fence along the east side of the property and up against that proposed scenic easement, which also requires a variance. The ultimate question on this application is, would the board have approved this application if it was proposed like it is now in the beginning? The 2023 administrative NRSP was a significant improvement in setbacks over the existing residence on the property, which was a very non-conforming residence, setback approximately 60 feet. The planning department had suggested the possibility of a scenic easement over the rear of the parcel to protect the areas closest to wetlands in perpetuity, which the applicants have now included as additional mitigation on top of the already required revegetation from the last application. Other than that, I can make myself available for any questions you might have.
Any questions for Tyler?
I have no questions.
Thank you, Tyler. Anything else? No, anybody in the public would like to address this application? Come on up. All right.
I can show you on the map where my property is. I'm just curious, I'd like to know how far.
Can you step to the mic, please? And introduce yourself and your address.
Okay, Marjorie Smith, 29 Deerfield Lane.
Marjorie, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm curious to know, with all these
variances and everything, how far their property is going to be from my fence? How far are they going to be close to my property? Is there a specific amount of feet or whatever that they have to have away from my property?
There is, this application is, they're well within those boundaries that they're required. This is an NRSP application seeking variances from the wetlands.
From the wetlands?
So they're not seeking a variance from your property line.
But I can be assured that they are far enough away from my property?
By code, yes, you can.
Okay. I wanted to
Where is
see
Deerfield?
I was wondering if on the map, they could show me where the pool is going to be and where the decking will be?
We will do that briefly. Tyler just point out, it's in the back of the house.
I'm not sure. Well, I'd like to, I can see my fence, so I'm just curious to know, can I point to where my fence is? Where my property?
Sure.
This is my property here.
No, that's not your property.
Big line.
No, I know, your property is on the north side of that, is that solid line above that.
The big square.
Are you this one here?
That's,
Is that your property?
no,
I'm on here.
Deerfield is over here somewhere.
Well, I'm
the pool is well within the required distance from the property line. There is no, they're not here before that.
This one's 29 Deerfield. This one here. Once it loads, this is you.
that's me.
Yes,
And so,
right here.
it's sort of the eyes on one like that.
Right, and the pool would be down here somewhere.
Maybe down here.
Yes,
Okay, so it's not gonna be here, it's gonna be down here.
Correct.
that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Matt, is there anybody on the phone?
We have no callers at this time.
Thank you. Okay, Andy.
Good afternoon, Andy Hammer again. Just to address that prior comment, it's a weird algebraic / geometric thing that her property was noticed, but if you look, it's probably hundreds and at least 150 to 200 feet away from the pool. So, but it's just a strange way the properties are shaped there. I also did speak to Gabby, and she told me what she wanted to reiterate is that one of the reasons they came up with the idea of relocating the pool or moving it out is that's her children's bedroom or proposed on the first floor. And on the original design, it was literally like you could jump out of the window and into the pool, which actually might be something that a kid would think to do, but I don't think that was the driving force, but it just looked a little bit awkward. So other than that, any other questions? If not,
Thank you. Oh.
No.
Oh, thank you. Ed, you want to close it out?
Okay. And then in the case of Gabriel Eichler and Douglas Newton, 73 Mako Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-175-6-34.1. I want to close the public hearing and the record at this time.
Second.
Concur.
Concur, thank you. Next, we have, the next applicant is Paul and Emily Kenyon at 114 South Etna Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-49-2-3. The size and location is 32,939 square feet at 114 South Etna Avenue, Surfside Estates, Block 351, lots 17 and 18, map number 1690 in Montauk. The description is to construct a 440 square foot attached lower level garage with entry and laundry room, approximately 555 square feet of additional first floor decking over the proposed garage, a 64 square foot hot tub to convert the existing garage to living space, clear vegetation, and upgrade the sanitary system within jurisdiction and setbacks of freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town, and 4 variances are required for this application. Variances of 52 feet, 52 feet and 44.9 feet are required from 255-430 of the town code to construct a proposed garage 48 feet, decking 48 feet, and hot tub 55.1 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. One variance of 7 feet is required to clear 43 feet from freshwater wetlands where 50-foot setback is required in any other relief necessary. Zoning district is B residence, zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. Council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
Yes, I've reviewed the affidavit of service and posting. Everything appears to be in order, and the board has jurisdiction over this hearing.
Thank you. And whose report is this?
It's mine.
Okay, that's Member Berger.
Okay, this is the official notice. It was properly posted at the property. This is a view looking, which way am I going? South, I believe, toward, on South Etna. Next. This is directly across the street from the applicant's house. Looks like an undeveloped area there. I'm not sure if it's town property or not. Next. Bless you. This is another view going, actually, this is south. The other way was looking up toward Montauk Highway. Now that I see this slopes down toward, curves around Etna and ends up in South Essex Street in Montauk. Next. Now walk down to the nearest neighbor on the south side. This is a shot of the view of that house, nearest affected neighbor. Next. Now I'm standing at the beginning of the applicant's driveway. You can see there's retaining walls and a lot of shrubbery. And actually, if you could smell it, the clethra was in full bloom yesterday when I was out there. It smelled great around that whole area. Anyway, so I'm going to go up the driveway. I might take another shot toward the wetlands in jurisdiction to the left here, and then farther northeasterly direction from the house. They're the smaller wetlands that are in jurisdiction for this application. Okay, so now this is a shot. I walked up the driveway, and this is a front shot of the house. You can see a lot of retaining walls on this property. The topology is very steep in this entire area. And I'm going to go toward the left where you see that car park. That is the side where the under garage is today. Next. So this is the area in front of that part of the property where they're looking to make this into a garage using these retaining walls as the walls for the garage itself. And the wetlands are off to the left area, about 50 feet from this area. Next. And another shot showing the garage entrance that is there today. Next. Today I was trying to get a feel for the difference in the topology going up from there. It is rather steep that goes up through there and until it gets all the way up to Montauk Highway. But next, another shot of that same area with the shrubbery behind it. Next. Now this is the right side, toward the right side of the house, the steps that lead up to a grassy area. Next. Skip that. It's a duplicate. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, now this is a shot going back down the driveway, but I had a shot of the grassy area. Is there another one, Tyler? Yeah, this one. Okay, got out of order. This is the area toward the back where there is an IA septic system being proposed. Way in the back there. It is not reflected on the survey, which is a question for the agent. It is on a septic site plan that we have in our record, in our file. So that in the back is where they're suggesting that, and I believe they're going to keep the leaching pools from the current system and replace the main unit, I guess, with the OWTS. And I think that's the end of the photos then. Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have the agent? How are you, Tara?
No.
Tara Burke from Lighthouse Land Planning.
Hi, Tara. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Dillian and members of the board. I'm here on behalf of the Kenyon family, and I have Paul Kenyon here with me and his neighbor. It was actually the house that was up on the photos. First, I want to say it's really nice to be in front of you on this because we have spent so much time vetting this application. The Kenyons I'm fortunate to be working with a client that really wanted to try to come up with the best possible plan for the property that they have. And we actually looked over this quite a few times with the planning department back when Eleni was working for the town. So that's how long we've been working on it. And this is the project we came up with, 4 variances and the natural resource special permit. However, all the proposed improvements are located in an already disturbed area. The development is proposed to be contained within the area that currently serves as the driveway and is bordered by the retaining wall, as was shown in Member Berger's photos. The retaining wall is planned to be incorporated into the design for the new addition, requiring no structures closer to the wetlands than currently exist. The garage is proposed at 440 square feet, and then the deck above is 555 square feet, with the hot tub sitting on top of that deck. The existing driveway does have drainage where the garage is proposed. However, on the sanitary plan, there's a new dry well proposed to take care of that drainage. And that's shown on that sanitary plan from November 10th, 2023. As is summarized, I think tonight in what I'm going to be saying and in the memo I submitted to the board, offered as mitigation, we are proposing to upgrade the septic system to an IA. We're proposing additional scenic easements and covenants limiting future development. So to start with the garage, the finished basement, the TAM notes that the existing garage under the house is to be converted into living space, which is accurate. This does not increase the gross floor area of the house, nor does it increase the intensity of use. The house is a 4-member family. They've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old and want a playroom downstairs. So they're just dispersing the existing household members. The septic system that is proposed as the upgrade is the same size as currently exists for a bedroom septic. And the existing basement could actually be converted to finished space without zoning board approval if we don't change the door openings. So that's something that they can do with a straight building permit. But in reviewing the project, we figured the driveway area is so unsightly due to the topography. There's not a whole lot of area for them to be outside the house because they are a young family. That additional decking space would be really nice for the kids to play on and the family to have some outdoor space. That the only outdoor space is that grass area on the other side where the septic is. There's a very small space behind the house. So again, we're proposing that upgraded septic. The existing retaining wall is going to be the wall of the new garage, and I submitted a letter from a structural engineer showing that that retaining wall can support the new decking. So that was something we really thought long and hard about, is how do we keep this from getting any closer to the wetlands, right? There's the one that has a scenic easement and the other one that's not protected at all at the moment. And incorporating that retaining wall into the new structure we thought was a huge win. The TAM does ask about the additional clearing variance of 7 feet. That is strictly a precautionary measure. Typically when you're doing construction, you create disturbance on the far side. This is a little bit unique where we're using an existing structure, so we're not even certain we're going to be doing any disturbance in that area. We just propose that in case. Now, the vegetation that actually is on top of that retaining wall is seagrasses, and I don't believe they're native. So we're happy to propose a revegetation plan if there is any disturbance or, regardless of that area, I think to the north, right, of the retaining wall. The hot tub, the planner brought up questions about the hot tub as to why it's proposed on the new deck and not the existing decking. The existing deck wasn't constructed to structurally support a hot tub, so they would have to do some major reconstruction of the existing decking. we thought that that was unnecessary disturbance and just an unnecessary cost. It's a waste of materials. We're hoping to create this new deck to support it. You can't see it from the road. There, you actually can see the house. It's tucked very far back up. It's actually not very close to many neighbors at all. But you can't see where the new garage is going from the road. You can see that existing deck. So we thought that was kind of nice too for the family and for the community to tuck it in the corner. And again, there's a dry well being proposed. The hot tub isn't drained very often, so we don't really anticipate much, impact from it being put on top of the deck. And the scenic easement, as Tyler noted in the TAM, there is one that currently covers the wetland along South Etna. We're happy to either increase the size of that or add a buffer for that scenic easement. And then the one in the back of the property, which the survey doesn't show it super clearly, but it's the one kind of where it says 250. Yep, thanks, Tyler. That one has no protection, so we're happy to offer a scenic easement to protect that wetland as well. And we really believe that it's a good project, and we hope you do too. There's, the mitigation being offered far outweighs the protection that this property has at current. And we are, with the sanitary system, we are proposing to use the existing leaching pools. We did so many renditions of possibilities for the sanitary system. And due to the existing retaining walls that are on that side and the house, there's all required setbacks, and it's impossible to fit a new sanitary system without using the existing leaching. We could have pulled it out into the driveway, but then that's putting it closer to the wetland. TF Engineering really did a tremendous amount of work trying to figure out what the best solution was. So that's why we're proposing to use the existing leaching pools, less disturbance. And the total lot coverage is staying the same. Building coverage is going up slightly, but it is, I think it's 1.6%. And again, we have the dry well, and we're proposing all of the other mitigation measures. And we believe we meet the variance standards. The improvements are situated out of sight and far from neighboring properties. I don't think it'll cause an undesirable change to the neighborhood or the character of the community. Can the benefit sought by the applicant be achieved by some other method? There's no other location feasible for the construction of the garage and the decking. We considered the east side of the property for additional living space, but that's where the septic is. So then we run into the problem of having to relocate the septic elsewhere, which puts it closer to the wetland. Gross floor area is not increasing. Will it have an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions? Again, I think the mitigation far outweighs the detriment on that one. And that's really all I have, unless you have any questions.
Regarding the OWTS system, how do you plan? It's very difficult to access that location on the property. How do you plan to do that? What kind of machinery or lack of machinery? Will that be done by hand?
Can't do it by hand.
No, you can't do it by hand. And I know we did discuss this at one point in time, and I know it's possible. The specifics are not my forte, but we'd be happy to submit a construction protocol for that. I know we spoke about it at length, and it is possible. So I'm not sure that gives you the reassurance that you're looking for.
But you always submit a plan.
But I'm happy to submit a construction protocol. Yeah.
In reference to the offer to, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
To increase the easement, and you mentioned about that pocket wetland there. Is that the offer to cover just the pocket wetland? Is there a line there? Does it include?
Ms. Johan, what I did was, because of the request to increase it, I asked Tyler if he could maybe come up with a suggestion. So it's a good question. So maybe, Tyler, did you come
We'll
up?
wait for Tyler then.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You offered to increase that plus?
Correct.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's, it should be protected, and the homeowners believe so as well. So yeah, they're happy to comply with that.
And it's all dense through there. the
Yeah, it's very
vegetation.
dense.
Yes,
Yeah.
and very contours.
And that's really why we tried to work with that existing disturbed area and come up with the, the least impactful project.
Tara, you mentioned an offer of a covenant to restrict further development. Could you just expand on that?
So I think one of the concerns that Tyler brought up was the additional living space potential for that, right? Ultimately that would have to come back in front of the board, and I can't imagine a future board approving that, given there was an initial ZBA approval and then given the record for this one. But to assure the board of that, we're happy to, covenant that won't be. They had no intentions of it. We're happy to covenant that won't be something that would be on living space above that garage.
But not, you could, it would be hard, I guess, with the septic where it is, but so you're not restricting all potential further development or addition. It's just specifically over that
responding to Tyler's suggestion of living space going above the garage. Yeah. Like you said, though, we tried and you can't put it where the septic is.
Right.
So.
Thank you.
Question I had was with the hot tub on the roof, when you do drain it sometimes, where would that drain to?
Into the dry well.
Which dry well?
There's a dry well proposed on the sanitary plan.
I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
The proposed stormwater dry well? Okay.
Now, the sanitary plan from November 2023, that's the latest. What about a survey? Are you going to be submitting a new survey that shows the septic going in on it?
If you would like us to, we're happy to. If the sanitary plan doesn't suffice, we can overlay that. That's no problem.
I would like to see.
Yeah,
I think,
sure.
I think if we're my viewpoint on this is we're accepting the septic layout. For them to go to the building permit, that septic's going to have to be on the survey, right? When you file for your building permit.
As long as we have the health department, but
No, that's true. That will be an approved health department survey.
Yeah, because we'll bring the red stamped health
I
department
don't know if it's a requirement for us if this is accepted.
We're going to need a new survey.
I would like to see it on the survey.
I think that's onerous, but.
Well, are we going to need an updated survey?
They need the survey to get the building permit, right?
The way the process for the building permit works is you submit a survey showing the improvements. The health department, it's called a green stamp, also gets submitted with the survey. That's all part of the application. There's not a requirement to put it on the survey now.
In your record, you would have the two.
Condition that survey has it on it to get the permit. No?
No.
Last week we had one that was on there, and the opposite was stated.
We can put it on. It's not.
It's not, but I just think it's going beyond the due process that's happening.
Are we going to need an updated survey if depending on what we say about additional scenic easements and buffer, will we need an updated survey for that?
Yeah, you'll need for typically Tyler can probably speak to this better than I can, but typically you would ask us, his sketch would be what ultimately would be adopted. And then we would do the meets and bounds, put that on the survey. We submit that to the town for approval. So to your point, we have to redo a survey with the proposed scenic easement on it.
That's correct.
I'm not the surveyor for an update anyway, if that's the direction you were going in.
Thank you, Tara.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
Let's hear from Tyler.
Thank you. Tyler?
Pick that up and then discuss it. Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department again. So the subject property is located on the northeast side of South Etna Avenue near the intersection with Montauk Highway in Montauk. The property is located in an area of Montauk with extensive wetland system. The Surfside Estates wetlands system provides the same benefits as other high quality wetlands in the Montauk area. Excuse me. These wetlands are highly diverse with species of woody and herbaceous plants. They constitute an integral part of the natural environment and more specifically the hydraulic system. In addition to diversifying the landscape, they play a significant and vital role in the storage of water, flood control, and maintenance of water quality prior to recharge into the surrounding watersheds and groundwater. The area has extensive clay lenses throughout, which contribute to the extensive network of freshwater wetlands. which are present and impact the level of flooding that occurs in the area. The wetlands also provide important habitat for a variety of wildlife species. The wetlands in this area flow south and east throughout the Surfside Estates subdivision and impacts wetlands throughout the area, including those along the bluffs to the south and throughout the western portion of Shadmore State Park. The proposed project represents a fairly significant amount of construction in close proximity to wetlands on an already improved property, with a gross floor area of approximately 1,906 square feet and located in what is likely the most conforming locations available on the property. The existing residence appears to meet the constraints of the property. Significant wetlands exist to the north and to the northwest of the improvements, which greatly impacts the available locations for any additional structures on the property. The garage with decking and hot tub above are proposed over the existing driveway, which has been in place since the residence was first constructed. The project also includes converting the existing garage within the footprint of the residence into livable space. This does not increase the gross floor area of the residence, but it does increase the intensity of use on the property. While it doesn't necessarily raise the bar to being a denial or anything like that, the size of the family isn't really something that comes into consideration when the board should be looking at things like this. The property could be sold in the near future and somebody could buy it who wants to put bedrooms down there, and then something like that could occur. But it does increase the intensity, or has the potential to increase the intensity of use on the property. To help mitigate the increase in the livable space within the residence, the applicants are now including an upgrade to this existing sanitary system to a modern low nitrogen IA sanitary system, which is utilizing the existing leaching rings. And that's one of the reasons why we didn't require it to be put on the survey. It would have been the only update that we required prior to being complete, was that all they were changing was the tank itself and not the leaching rings. And the leaching rings are really the most important part when we look at setbacks and things like that. So we didn't feel that it was necessary, at least at that point in time, to require them to upgrade the survey or update the survey. The location of the garage would be a poor location for future expansion of the residence in the future. With the addition of living space in the existing garage and basement, the property is likely at its capacity in comparison to the constraints of the lot. Additional living space being added in the future above the proposed garage is likely not appropriate. The applicants seem to have agreed to a covenant of no future expansion of the residence above the proposed garage, which would remove that concern for future development. Ultimately, the concern is that it's easier to get a variance over something that's already been constructed. So that's the concern. You sort of get your foot in the door, and then you would build additional living space above that thing, and that's generally speaking an easier ask than just new expansion or a new footprint. Additional clearing within the 50-foot minimum setback to wetlands is proposed, and any clearing within close proximity to wetlands should be closely scrutinized. It appears that the proposed clearing line is out of an abundance of caution for the construction process, and the applicants have suggested a revegetation of the area if clearing is ultimately required. The 64 square foot hot tub is also proposed to be located over the new garage and within the proposed decking. There's already existing decking on the property which could be utilized to increase the wetlands setbacks to wetlands. And the applicants have noted that the existing decking is not built to handle the weight of a hot tub and would also be visible from the street, whereas the proposed location would not. The board should also require any discharge into a dry well, which the applicants have noted. The board should consider what additional mitigation might be appropriate for the proposed construction if approved. A scenic easement already covers the majority of the wetlands, not the whole wetland, on the west side of the parcel, and increasing that easement to include a buffer in addition to an easement over the wetlands to the northeast might be appropriate. These wetlands have changed a little since the original approval for the current residents, and the inclusion of closer impermeable surfaces and hot tub afford the board the opportunity to increase those protections in perpetuity. I noted an area that could be utilized for a scenic easement on the sketch. The caveat is that it eliminates the space between those two wetlands. There's about 110 feet between the two wetlands. So it's conceivable that somebody could try and propose something over there and request variances. But ultimately, where the residence is located in the southeast corner is the best location for improvements on the lot. So we discussed the idea of just sort of cutting off that area to the south and putting an easement over the rest of it, or just doing like a buffer around, and ultimately sort of fell onto cutting off the area to the south and protecting that area to the north in perpetuity, protecting that vegetation, protecting those slopes, and protecting the wetlands themselves. But certainly that's something that could be a discussion about, I think. The board should discuss how the applicant meets the variance standards. Is there enough mitigation able to be offered to construct additions closer to wetlands than had previously been approved by the ZBA? And I believe I covered everything I was looking to cover. I can answer any questions you might have.
How wide is that you have up there now? That line?
How wide?
Yeah, how much additional footage is it? It looks.
The easement, the current easement doesn't cover the entirety of the wetlands. It is, this line is the existing easement.
Right.
And then it follows that line out. So the wetlands are actually outside it a little bit over here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty small. That existing easement is pretty small. The wetlands haven't changed significantly since that original approval, but it has shifted a little bit. So this would cover more of that. That existing easement is actually through the driveway slightly, which, so, I mean, that's not a, they have to access the property, obviously. But this sort of gives them some space against that retaining wall to construct in the future, reconstruct it, move it if they need to. But also, provide a buffer. It'd be about 40 feet to the wetlands to the northeast there.
Tyler, I'm sorry, Terry. Normally when we see a survey and there are wetlands on the property, it's pretty standard to say the size of the lot area excluding wetlands. I don't see it on this survey. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm not familiar with this surveyor, but do you know what that is? Just for reference?
I don't remember. Usually when we noted in the technical analysis memo, it's just the total lot area, which was 32,000. I don't.
No, that I
Yeah,
see.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I could try and look for it on the survey itself. I don't remember.
So how much are you proposing be added to the size of the existing scenic easement in terms of square feet?
It'd be a significant increase.
That's significant.
Right,
yeah.
so it's everything above, right?
Yeah, everything above the red line, it'd be probably triple the size, if not more.
Any other questions for Tyler?
No.
Okay, no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to address this application? Doesn't look like in here. Matt, is there anybody on the phone?
We have no callers.
Okay. Tara, you want to come on up?
Thank you, Tyler.
So we have a proposed easement here. You need to discuss that with your client, I'm sure.
Yes.
And then were we holding the record open for anything else?
Well, we talked about a construction
Construction
protocol.
Construction
for the
protocol.
I guess confirming the
Now,
easement, right?
Tara, I have one question.
Sure.
You did note that regarding the structural integrity of the retaining wall during construction, you mentioned there was an engineer?
I did, yes, I
And it is
submitted.
in our file?
It is in the file,
All
yes.
right, excellent.
I submitted it end of last week, I think, Thursday maybe? Yeah, so I guess if you could leave the record open for us to discuss the easement, submit the construction protocol, but close it for public comment, that would be great.
That'd be great. How much time would you need?
It's Tuesday, a week?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Great.
Sure that's enough?
CF engineer is probably watching going, wait, what? At Artemis or whichever engineer is gonna do our construction protocol.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know, we've discussed it. I just want it from someone other than me to use. So I don't anticipate it taking that long. I mean, maybe 2 weeks to be safe, but
You'd be safe. Look,
2 weeks? We'll give you 2.
we'll give you 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, can we have a motion?
Yeah. With the application of Paul and Emily Kenyon at 114 South Avenue in Montauk, tax map 300-049-02-3, make a motion to close the public hearing, leave the written record open for 2 weeks, until, what would that be?
27.
27th, right? Date 27 for the submission of the construction protocol and the easement confirmation. Good.
Second?
Concur.
Concur. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to we have some post-hearing decisions this evening. First one is Kathleen Duffy Langen at 1843 Montauk Highway in Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300 dash.
Can I ask you something? Can I get a transcript of everything that occurred here?
You have it online. It costs money for the town to provide a transcript. You have, you can go on YouTube and watch it again.
Oh, you have presence on YouTube?
Yes, there is.
I know that they have that LTV and you can watch.
And LTV,
Yeah.
I'm a contiguous neighbor to Paul, but that's not exactly why I'm here. I want to see how you operate because I am going to be looking to do things myself in the future. And everything with the wetlands, is a problem. I had done.
ma'am, the record is open, so the comment period on this the record is closed.
I don't do that.
Okay, so the record is closed, so we can't accept any more public comment on this application. So, but if you want to review this hearing, you can find it on YouTube or through LTV.
That LCD, now I have DVD, but I wouldn't watch television. You can't record Channel 20.
Right.
It's unrecordable. And I like the work that you're all doing. I appreciate it. It's, I did this myself when I was in West Salem, some variation. And I am an attorney, but I'm not practicing. Too hard to do. It's just like, so I wanted to see how it operated. And I've never actually been here. And I've had the house since 1986. But I didn't turn it.
This is not the forum to find that out. This is not the proper forum for that. If you want, you can visit the planning department.
I am going to look on YouTube, and when I do, I just look at natural resources special.
Or in YouTube, you can search in the search line, East Hampton Town Zoning Board, and you look for the date.
Oh, it was good to hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, you did the microphone.
Thank you.
Excuse,
Thank you.
you could go
fan
to
base is growing.
ltveh.org. YouTube is.
Yeah,
not user
as we know, there's a little problem.
Okay. What is this one?
We don't know.
That's classic. The jury's still out on that one.
Local
That's what we want.
democracy.
I know, I heard that.
Oh, Tyler's going to give her
Okay.
his card.
All right, getting back into Kathleen Duffy Langen. Thank you. The description, the size and location is 10,000 square feet at 1843 Montauk Highway in Amagansett. The description is to construct a 550 square foot deck addition on a parcel of land within jurisdiction of and setbacks of freshwater wetlands. A natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town, and one variance is required for this application. One variance of 8.7 feet is required from 255-430 of the town code to construct the proposed decking 91.3 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setback is required and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence AE flood zone, elevation 10, and the seeker class is type 2. Member Mearing, this was in...
Yes, Amagansett, thank you. Okay, so the public hearing, just to review, was held on July 23rd, 2024. The applicant was represented by Mr. Joel Halsey of Lighthouse Land Planning. He was not involved in prior redevelopment applications for this parcel that were before this board, I believe in 2020 and 2021. We are working off of the most recent James Walsh survey that was dated October 21, 2023. The lot area is 10,000 square feet. The TAM was written written by Tyler Borsak and dated June 3rd, 2024. Though this application will not change building coverage, which will remain at 60% of the total max allowable building coverage, the total max allowable is 2,000. According to the survey, the decking will increase total coverage 1-to-1 with the proposed added size of the decking, or 24% increase in total coverage from current level. But total coverage on the lot will still remain 45% maximum code permitted total coverage. Current clearing is at 76% of max allowable, and I don't believe it is not proposed to change as a result of the added decking, which will be, because that will be constructed in an area that's already cleared and was established in the ZBA's prior determination to approve the construction that's going on now on the property. That area was specified to remain cleared, so there won't be any additional clearing or to accommodate this additional decking. Just taking a minute to remind everyone, this application is in the context of this board's prior hearing and decision on this lot. The property has been under redevelopment since the July 2022 building permit. The application for the redevelopment was approved by this board on 6/16/2021. As we discussed, there was a prior redevelopment application that sought more significant variances that this board had denied in 2020, and the applicant came back with what was approved and you now see about to be completed. As mentioned, the proposal is to add 550 square feet of decking that will be attached to the rear or north side of the house, and specifically it will run the full width of the rear, and the deck will be 55 feet wide by 10 feet deep, and it will join up with the north end of the decking already approved and built on the west side of the house. Of the total 550 square feet of decking increment, only 262 square feet, or 48% of the new proposed deck area, is in jurisdiction of the wetland to the north. And specifically, that is a section that will require a rather modest 8.7 foot or 8.7% wetland setback variance, and NRSP is also required. Given that the rear deck is being built as close to the house as possible, does not need any lot line setback variances, will not require additional clearing or interfere with any established revegetation requirements, I do not believe this will create any degradation of the natural resources or natural features. It will not be able to be seen from the road, and there are no neighbors to the north closest to where this would be installed. So I see no impact to character of the neighborhood or the area, no adverse impact on physical environmental conditions, looking at 255-551D and 255-540D compatibility and environmental. I believe this application meets those standards. And in terms of benefit to the applicant, given that this property fronts on 27 on the Nepean stretch where traffic is moving at 55 miles per hour or more, and I see the benefit of having a rear deck shielded from the traffic noise and in the back. I guess the question came up, why wasn't this incremental decking part of this original or the application that was approved? Joel Halsey had said he thought it should have been, but I don't see that as a concern at this point that would sway me. So all in, I am going to approve this application. And I will have a question about, well, when we're done, I was curious if the revegetation plan that was specified in the last determination was actually provided, was supposed to be a condition of the building permit. So if for some reason it wasn't, we, I guess, want to put that back in as a condition. Thank you.
Okay, well, it was a thorough review. I am in agreement that this project, I'm going to approve this project. I think it does meet all the standards. It's a small variance of 8.7 feet from the wetlands. It's a small portion of the decking, as was already stated, that's within jurisdiction, about half of it from those wetlands. And I think there will be no detriment to the neighborhood, the town, or anything else from the creation of this decking. So I too am looking to approve it. I think it meets all the standards.
Thank you. Ed?
Yeah, I'm going to approve it as well. I thought that there were a couple of factors here that they're the same ones that entered into our decision a couple of years ago when we approved the project. One was that the railroad directly behind there adds to the uniqueness of the property. We talked about whether or not it provided a buffer from the wetlands, negative or positively at that original discussion. I think that the house, we're always looking for uniqueness. There is a certain uniqueness here, and the fact that this has been placed, this house is placed between a highway and a railway. The factors of no additional clearing needed, and the deck is already over an allowably cleared area, and that I think in terms of what was brought up by Member Mearing about the replanting, we should definitely ask about that. Visiting the site, it looks as if care was taken on staying within the clearing limits during the construction. So I think that's always a good positive and favor of the client, of the applicant. And I thought in the end, when we get asked, is the benefit to the applicant, does it outweigh the detriment to the environment? In this case, I thought that was a deciding factor for me. I think the benefit, as was already stated by Member Mearing, for various reasons, being away from the highway and giving them a little more space. Would have been nice if it had come in front of us 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever that was, but nonetheless, I'm willing to approve this application at this time.
Thank you. Denise?
Yes, thank you. Out of the 550 square feet of decking, only 287 square feet of the proposed decking is within the wetland setback. Where the deck is proposed is presently cleared, so there will be no additional clearing. In the 2021 determination, as an additional condition of approval, and I quote, "The clearing of vegetation and the filling, grading, or recontouring of the properties shall be strictly limited to the boundaries as established by the board and any grading depicted on the approved survey." That approved survey with the December 2021, that was approved with the December 2021 survey, which was prepared by James Walsh, dated last revised 8/26/2020, received by this board on 9/29/2020. So the 2021 ZBA determination condition of approval is being enforced, as I see it, through this request. This will not cause an undesirable change in the neighborhood. The requested variances are not substantial. The minimum request, which varies the code, I think, by 8.1%. The variances are not self-created. And I feel that this does comply with NRSP standards of 255-551. The requested use is compatible with the neighborhood. The extent of the work proposed is humble and unassuming and will not cause degradation to natural features. In terms of the environmental protection, there will not be a detrimental impact on the project as it was presented to this board. So for these reasons already stated, I am approving this in its entirety.
Thank you. And for the record, I was not present that evening, but I did review the files in the public hearing. I agree with my board members. I don't have anything to really add to it. I think it is a de minimis request, and probably would have been considered even if we looked at the thing as a whole. Yeah. So with that, I'm also approving the application. We good, council? Thank you. Next, we have Marquis Ponder LLC at 11 Wood Hollow Drive, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-92-10-11. Size and location is 41,749 square feet, 11 Wood Hollow Drive, Treescape at East Hampton, Section 2, Lot 24, Map Number 6,244 in East Hampton. The description is to allow an existing 1,600 square foot pool deck, 739 square foot swimming pool, pool equipment, and accessory structure to remain within front, side, and rear yard lot line setbacks. The relief sought of 5 variances are required for this application. Variances of 4.5 feet, 11.1 feet from 255-1110 of the town code are required to allow the existing pool to remain 25.5 feet and pool decking to remain 18.9 feet from the northern rear lot line, respectively, where 30-foot setbacks are required. Variances of 6.6 feet, 12.3 feet, and from 255-1110 of the town code are required to allow the existing pool equipment to remain 23.4 feet and pool deck to remain 17.7 feet from the eastern side yard lot line, respectively, where 30-foot setbacks are required. One variance of 6.3 feet from 255-1110 of the town code is required to allow the existing accessory structure to remain 43.7 feet from the front yard lot line where a 50-foot setback is required and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A residence zone flood zone and the secret class is type 2. And I'm going to ask, again, I was not present that evening, but I'm going to ask the vice chair to lead this off.
Yes, thank you. This public hearing was held July 23rd, 2024. 5 variances are being requested, allowing existing pool deck, pool equipment, and accessory structure. The application was represented by Christopher Carrillo. Daniel Koplowitz, the architect, submitted his list of drawings, which include site references, existing condition photos, existing plan of pool and decked areas, existing north and south elevations, and existing east and west elevations prepared by Daniel Koplowitz, architect, dated received October 10th, 2023. All the existing structures are depicted on the survey, last revised by Saskis, February 6, 2023. There were no callers. And Tyler Borzak appeared on behalf of the planning department. And the public hearing and the record were closed. Let me go into a little bit of a lengthy presentation for the record, because a lot went on during this public hearing. Mr. Carrillo's presentation presented us with background and history on how this situation came to be. The applicant purchased the property in 2021. He was unaware at the time of the purchase of the substantial unpermitted restoration and redevelopment in connection with the main house, pool, and pool deck. The applicant discovered the violations when their rental registry permit was denied by the building department because there was an open building permit for the construction of a garage. Upon assessment and evaluation via surveys and probably aerials, it was confirmed that no garage was ever built. The permit was closed out, and this is when the applicant became aware of the unpermitted expansions to the house, pool, and deck, the pool and the pool deck. Prior to this, he had no knowledge of the unpermitted renovation. In terms of the main house, Mr. Koplowitz, an architect, had to be hired to address the structural integrity of the house, which was compromised by the previous owner. There was actually testimony that the main beam had been removed, seriously jeopardizing the main structure, which is now being corrected. This aspect of the application, however, is not before us tonight. The applicant has worked with the town on every level to correct the violations. Before us tonight is the pool deck, swimming pool, pool equipment, and accessory structures to remain within front, side, and rear yard lot line setbacks. When Mr. Carrillo met with the building inspector, it was determined that the original pool deck, and pool equipment dated back to 1984, making these structures pre-existing non-conforming as to the 40-foot double-sided yard setbacks. When they were renovated, sometime between 2007 and 2010, these structures lost that status, and rightfully so. The existing pool is no closer to the property line than the original pool. In the 2006 C of O, it states an 800 square foot swimming pool. They are now asking to allow a 739 square foot pool. The pool deck was enlarged to the east and south and is only 2.4 feet closer to the property line than the original ZBA-approved pool deck. The ZBA in 1999 approved the existing 1,100 square foot pool deck to remain partially within side and rear yard setbacks. They're now asking to allow 1,600 foot pool deck. There is also an open-air roof structure which houses maintenance supplies constructed to the west of the driveway, which is 43.7 feet from the property line where 50 feet is required. I think this application at first glance seems to have a lot going on. So I'm going to go through the variance standards one by one for the record. Whether the grant of the variance will cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or create a detriment to nearby properties. The neighboring properties in this area are very well vegetated and screened, and the size of the neighboring lots range from 0.9 acres to 4 acres. So I do not think this project, if approved, will cause a detriment to the neighborhood. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method. For the pool and deck, this is the most logical location, and it has been in this location since the 1980s. And what makes this unique was the applicant was unaware of the extensive unpermitted renovations at the time of purchase. And clearly, that is just unthinkable. This is why he now had to have a current, this is why you will now, with amended code changes, one of the reasons for having a CO upon the sale of the property. So whether the requested variances are substantial, I don't feel these are substantial. The pool is now slightly further away from the property line, and the new pool deck is only 2.4 feet closer to the property line than the original pre-existing non-conforming pool and pool deck. The roof structure is 43.7 feet from the property line, where 50 is the required setback, all equaling not substantial. Will the grant of the variance have an adverse impact on the physical and environmental conditions in the neighborhood? The surrounding properties are larger and, as stated, very well vegetated. Removal of the pool and deck would require excavation and reconstruction, and to me, that would be more harmful on the environment. There are no wetlands near this property, and they are well within the permitted total lot coverage. Whether the difficulty causing the applicant to request a variance is self-created. This was absolutely not self-created. The applicant became aware of the violations after purchase and now wants to make his property safe in compliance with the town code so they can get an updated CO. They had to hire an attorney and an architect to represent them in this matter at great expense to correct something not of their doing. They are not seeking to improve or expand on their residence. They are simply trying to legalize the improvements in their as-built condition. I believe that the existing pool, pool deck, roof structure, and pool equipment meet the standard for grant of these requested variances, and for all the reasons stated, I am approving this in its entirety.
Thank you. Ed?
Yeah, this was a complicated hearing because I think that so much had gone on in the history of the property. I thought that Mr. Carrillo and obviously Tyler Borsak had worked on this, and they had come to some agreements that could be presented in front of us. When we go back and look at the history, there were C of Os granted on this property at various stages in 1978, 85, 99, and 2006. The 2006 C of O had the most to do with what conditions we were looking at now. I think that there were some building permits issued in 2008 and 09. They were not acted on. There was a stop work order in 2015 from the previous owner, And during that period between 2015 and 2021, there was testimony to say that a significant amount of work had taken place. Some of it was substandard work, which was mentioned by the vice chair, had to be repaired, and we saw the evidence of that in the photos of the site and the work that was going on. The current work that's going on there was not part of our considerations at the time. I think that much of what the vice chair said about the reasoning for the client came out of, why he was ignorant of, I suppose, was that it was stated by Mr. Carrillo that in the excitement of the post-COVID moment that we had, people were buying houses without C of Os and just buying them while they could for fear they wouldn't get it. I don't know that that means anything in terms of our decisions here, but I can understand that there was a certain blind spot brought on by that. When he did find out in 2022 that his rental application would not be approved because there were violations, I think they acted on it. I think that the chart that was presented to us by Tyler showed that there were some variations between the 2006 C of O and the current setbacks, but as was pointed out already, they were minor, and I didn't think that they were in the range that would make me want to see this as something that I could not approve. I think that we ask ourselves about the potential damage of moving this pool. In this case, this is a well-vegetated site. I think that the site looked like it was well protected to me. I think the larger question became this detached building. It was pointed out, an accessory structure. Now it's 43.7 feet from the front property line where 50 is required, and it's vegetated out there. I think that in terms of compatibility with the neighborhood, I can see that it is in compatibility. I don't think that's a problem. I think if you ask ourselves the question, could it be converted to other use in the future? Is that a consideration for us? I'm not going to be bothered by it by the simple reason that it really is a temporary structure in terms of its structural integrity. Anyone wanting to make an enclosed habitat or anything else would have to come back with a significant building permit that would obviously kick back to us and possibly cause some other kinds of scrutiny. It's not something that can be easily converted, and I think its usage right now fits into the general use on the property. I thought it was well presented. I thought that it seemed to me as if there was a legitimate effort being made by the applicant to try to do what he could to bring it into compliance. And so I'm going to agree with the vice chair, and I'm willing to approve this application in its entirety.
Thank you. Terry?
Okay. Once again, I agree with my fellow board members. I'm not going to reiterate everything. Some of the key points for me were in the TAM, the chart that was shown by Tyler and Chris Carrillo, with what happened with the pool from 2006 when they had C of O, to the current situation. Things had changed. The pool decking actually, I believe, got an improved setback. Or no, maybe the pool got the approved setback, and they were just things done as already stated that the homeowner that purchased the house in 2021 had no idea about. I commend the Carrillo, gave an extensive history and reiteration of the history of the property and all the things that were done since 1978 with the C of Os. I'm not going to repeat them all. They were already stated, but in his document that we received on October 10th, 2023, dated the same date, went into an extensive discussion of that, as well as Mr. Koplowitz' testimony at the hearing showing the disrepair. I commend him also. He said he normally does historic properties that are in disrepair that need work, and I commend him for taking this project on. And his discussion, particularly with the pool decking and the pool and the structure between the main house that was rotted out next to the pool, and both people and the owner who purchased the house, as we know, in a COVID situation, and when they said to just get things going because everything's going to be delayed in terms of the legalities of all these things. So I too am approving this in its entirety. I think the structure that's the covered structure down here, it's 6.3 foot variance from the front yard. I think that's not significant. It's not a huge variance, and that structure, it's not enclosed today. It's just a roof structure that they use for trash and some other storage, apparently. And so I, too, am approving this in its entirety.
Thank you. Jane?
Yes, I will not go through everything that was so wonderfully laid out by my fellow board members. I will say that just the way that the vice chair laid out each of the variances, I do want to say that I agree with the interpretation of this application relative to the variance standards on all counts. Just one little thing to add. During the hearing, Mr. Koplowitz was speaking about, there were problems, structural problems with the house, with the decking, not the pool decking, but the decking on the side of the house. And I did ask him on the record, are there any structural issues? Have they assessed the pool decking? And because if they were to have to do some structural issues or remediate the decking, then I would have wanted to see perhaps, the setbacks improved. But he did say that he believed at this point that the decking, I believe what he said, that the decking was fine, that pool decking, and would not need to be remediated or adjusted. So taking that in as well, I am approving the full suite of the requests for the variances and the application.
Thank you. And once again, thank you to the vice chair for unpacking a complicated application. The word I want to use is convoluted. Application, not to the fault of the current owner. This is a fault of the previous owner, and this guy inherited not a good situation, and feel for him. But I agree with the board, and I too will approve this application.
Good.
So next we have Sean Trudeau and Julia Stark. Trudeau at 19 Merrill's Road, Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-106-2-48. The size and location is 8,774 square feet at 19 Merrill's Road, Lazy Point, part of 15, map number 12, Amagansett. The description is to remove existing shed, decking, bluestone gravel, and walkways, and to construct an approximately 616 square foot second story addition, 45 square foot of roof overhang, 473 square foot of deck and porch within side and rear yard lot line setbacks, outside of the town's pyramid regulations and beyond the maximum allowable lot coverage, and to upgrade to an IA sanitary system. The relief sought is 8 variances are required for this application. Variances of 2.75 to 3.25 are required from 255-1110 of the town code to construct a proposed porch 5.125 feet from the northern side yard lot line and decking 4.625 from the southern side yard lot line respectively, where 7.875 foot setbacks are required. One variance of 8.35 is required from 255-1110 of the town code to construct a proposed porch and decking with stairs 6.65 from the eastern rear yard lot line where a 15-foot setback is required. 4 variances of 5.5, 5.6, 6.7, and 7.65 are required from 255-1172D of the town code to construct a proposed addition 5.5 feet outside of the pyramid regulations along the northern lot line, 5.6 along the southern lot line, and proposed porch 6.7 outside of the pyramid regulations along the northern lot line, and 7.65 along the eastern lot line, respectively. One variance of 240 square foot is required from 255-1110 of the town code to allow the property to have a lot coverage of 1,995 square foot, where 1,755 square foot is the maximum allowable, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A2, Zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. Jay?
Yes, thank you. The public hearing was held on 7/23/2024. The applicant was represented by Mr. David Christ of Matthews, Christ, Cooley, and Joran. During the public hearing, we were working off the Foxland surveying survey dated July 11th, 2024, and plans submitted by Made Architecture and Design. Those plans were dated 8/1/2023. There were two very brief letters signed by two neighbors expressing generalized support for the application, or that they had no objections. No members of the public participated directly during the public hearing. This lot is 90% pre-existing, non-conforming substandard at 8,774 square feet compared to the A2 zoning district minimum of 84,000. The width of the lot ranges between 49 and 50. We do see narrow lots like this, so it's not the first time we've seen it, but it does create some challenges for the development on the lot. But it is exceptionally long at 175 square feet. The lot adjoins at the eastern side trustee property in Lazy Point. And I don't have to do it now, but I don't know that we confirm that the trustees did receive notice? Because when I looked at the application again, it didn't list them on the list. So just, we can come back to that at the end. The lot currently total lot coverage currently is in excess of max allowable total coverage. It's 4,620 square feet versus allowable coverage of 4,387 square feet. However, as part of the work, they will be removing some bluestone areas and some of the walkways to bring the total coverage back into compliance. As read in, again, this evening by the chair, the applicant is seeking eight variances, or eight variances for pyramid, side, and rear yard setbacks, as well as for a building coverage excess. Even though visually it would seem that there are key natural resources in the area. I actually made this mistake during the hearing, corrected myself. There are no protected natural resources or features on this property, so an NRSP is not required. So basically, there are two main elements of the application, and I'll take them separately. First of all, to construct an internal addition, adding about 43% gross floor area addition. They'll be adding a 616 square foot master bedroom suite on top of the existing 600 square foot garage. The house will go to 3 bedrooms from 2 bedrooms. That increase in extra bedroom will be offset by installation of an upgraded IA septic system. As the current GFA of the house is 1,426, below the max allowable of 2,577. The new house, the new addition will increase the GFA to 2,042, still 82%, still below at 82% of the max allowable under code. And as we know, code does not count the 600 square feet of the attached garage currently in GFA. The second story addition will require 2 substantial pyramid variances of 5.5 and 5.6 feet on both the north and the south sides of the property. With respect to the second element in the application, the proposal is to rebuild and expand the rear deck on the eastern side of the house. And this element alone requires 6 substantial variances, 3 lot line setback variances, 2 pyramid variances, as well as another variance to exceed allowable building coverage. The building coverage is also increased somewhat by an overhang on the southern side of the property, but the bulk of the building coverage overage comes from the increase of the size of the deck. The rear deck is in total is 200 square feet. The current deck is 200 80 square feet, or the service is 278 square feet. It's currently, I think, 10 feet from the rear property line, but it meets side yard setbacks, and it has, because there's no, there was, I think, a little roof area, but it's central on the property, so it doesn't have any pyramid problems related to it. The proposed new rear deck patio structure combines a new 276 roofed, covered, screened-in porch area, plus another 190 square feet of uncovered decking. So that adds up to a 71% increase in deck structure on the back of the house. Looking from it from the perspective of building coverage, oh, I already said that, sorry. With respect to the side yard setbacks for the new meaningfully expanded rear deck, looking at the survey existing dating January 2018, the rear deck appears to meet side yard setback, and obviously because the narrow width, this property already benefits on side yard setbacks from the 4/10 rule, which reduces setbacks to needed only at 7.875 feet. But the requirement for the design on the northern side will now need a 35% northern side yard setback and a 41.3% setback variance at the southern line, which on a percentage basis, I consider to be substantial. The required rear setback now is 15, but the applicant is seeking almost a 56% variance in percentage terms. And the new rear porch requires a material pyramid variances because of the roof overhang, so it's 6.7 feet on the northern side and 7.65 variance on the eastern side. I understand that because of the placement of the existing house, which is set far back on the lot, some rear yard setback relief for the deck might be justified, but the entire new structure as proposed is becoming significantly more non-conforming. Mr. Kirst described the multiple variances on this application as relatively, quote, relatively minor and collectively not substantial. And he made the case that the proposed decking will be no closer to the northern or southern property line than the existing house, and that the roof line on the new bedroom addition will not exceed the height of the roof line on the current house. And he also noted, which I took into consideration, that the pyramid variances for the bedroom extension violate pyramid less than the way the existing house pierces pyramid. He did say that from the perspective or the benefit to the applicant, quote, it will make the house more livable and enjoyable for the family. And he did make a general statement that, quote, no viable alternatives are available to the addition requiring what is being asked for. So I do understand that there are constraints to the property and that some degree of relief can be justified. I also featured in my field report at the public hearing the house to the south, because of the height of that build and the topography does seem to loom over the applicant's house. So I don't think on that side of the house the pyramid variances will hurt that property. However, this board is asked to ensure that the minimum variances necessary to alleviate difficulties are asked for and granted, and that they should be minimized to the extent possible, if not avoided. So to turn to the variance standards, is the area variance to be granted the minimum variance necessary and adequate to alleviate the difficulty causing the applicant to request the variance, while at the same time protecting the character and the general health safety of the town as a whole? And then 255-850B and C, could the benefit sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible to pursue other than variances? And C, are the variances substantial? So on all three of these, the concern I have with this application is that, and it's the burden of the applicant to show the board that their were no alternate designs for either the decking or the 616 square foot bedroom addition that could have either eliminated some of the variances or significantly make them significantly more or less substantial. And I do think that on a percentage basis, this is a collection of substantial variances. And though there is some uniqueness to the lot, I don't think this hurdle was met related to the three standards that I read. And so I am going to deny this application in total.
Thank you, Terry.
Interesting. Okay. I too did a lot of looking at this. I have a slightly different view on part of it. Ultimately, the 616-foot addition and the overhang, based on the testimony by Mr. Kirst and looking at the survey and having gone to the property and looking at it, I feel that some of the variance standards, while they're significant, I do think that there may be alternative uses that, alternatives to doing the addition, I'm talking about the addition now specifically, and the overhang, that I think the benefit to the applicant in the case of the addition of the master bedroom suite, although it is large, that it does outweigh any detriment to the location on that. And based on the way the pyramid looked on the north and south for that, relating it to the existing frame structure that has now, I'm willing to approve that part of the application. The part that I struggle with the most actually is the decks. And again, I could allow for the proposed deck on the south side that is not proposed to be covered. But my big problem with this entire application, I guess the biggest problem, is the proposed covered deck that requires the pyramid variances and also causes the necessity of a building coverage variance of 200 some odd feet. That covered deck is 276 feet, I believe. And if that deck is not put there, they would not need the proposed building coverage variance also. So bottom line is, I think some of the setback variances are large. That proposed covered deck, going back to that, they're extending it out. They're bringing it totally to meet the edge of the house on the north side. All of that contributes to the pyramid, and it contributes to the building coverage variance that's required on this. So I am willing to approve the deck on the south side, which is not covered. I think there's significant variances, but it could allow for a deck. There's a deck that exists today on the north, but I am denying the proposed covered deck on the north side.
Thank you. Denise?
This is a modest amount of construction. Parcel is very non-conforming to lot size and width, and because of the 49.21 foot lot width, the parcel has the benefit of the 4/10 rule in 255-143D1 of the town code, which allows for a side yard lot line setback of 7.875 feet for structures. The 616 square foot addition is proposed over an existing attached garage, so the addition is over an existing improvement. These improvements will include a new master suite, including a bedroom, bathroom, and a closet on the west side of the house, along with a new office space and new laundry area. The rear deck is consistent with the neighboring properties. I think the applicants have designed a project that is modest in size and scale over already existing improvements, which will limit negative impacts during construction. The requested variances are not substantial. The pyramid grant will have no impact on the neighboring property, will not block their air and light, and the ridge line of the addition will not be higher than what you see on the surrounding property, which roof line is significantly higher. The variances will have no negative impact on the environment or physical conditions in the neighborhood. There will be no change in clearing and minor changes in building coverage. They are taking 4,620 square feet and reducing it by 713 square feet by removing the bluestone gravel, the shed, which I think has already been removed, walkways and decking. The project also includes installation of an IA system, reducing an IA nitrogen reducing septic system, which is most definitely a major plus environmentally to the neighborhood. I feel this is not self-created. The addition is being constructed over an existing attached garage, and the project, I feel, is modest in size and scale. The existing addition will maintain the same footprint as the existing garage. The wood deck on the east side of the house will be demolished, and a new elevated wood-covered porch, 275 square feet, and a new open portion of the elevated deck, 198 square feet, will be rebuilt in its place. For all the reasons stated, I feel this does meet the standards outlined in the town code for grant of these variances, and I am approving the application in its entirety.
Thank you. Ed?
Yeah, it's interesting, different takes on this. To start with the addition, I'm in agreement in terms of approving it. I think that there is always concern about pyramid. When you go to this site, the topography has a significant impact on any decision you might make. These houses, particularly the south, does loom quite high above it, but there's even a bit of a rise in the house, on the topography to the house to the north. I think that the point was made that night during the hearing that although it's going to require on the addition a pyramid variance, it's no higher than, it's not as high as what exists currently. So it's not really extending a condition that does not exist. I think that the going to the IA system, that is a major plus, and it's located in a spot that makes the most sense on that property. And I think that is a real benefit for us. Problem for me becomes the decks as well, and for slightly different reasons. I think when we're looking at them improving the living space in the house over an already developed area or a portion of the structure, I think that's a great solution in these circumstances, not to be looking at extending the footprint of the house, and I think that's fine. I think that's something that we look to have applicants do, and I think they've done it in the case. When we come to the back of the house, I think that Tyler made a point in the TAM, and that is, these are terribly constricted lots, and they come in front of us, and it's not easy to do anything on them because the way they're, the width of this one in particular. But at the rear of the house, there's an existing deck now which is within 10 foot of the property line. They do have a deck. To cover a deck there and then ask for a pyramid on something that really is more of a convenience than a necessity, and extending the deck to the south as it does, are two functions here, or two elements that I think we do have to ask ourselves when other people come in and say, all we want is the same thing. Well, what are we approving here? Every application's unique. I don't believe that this one, approving these decks, really rises to the level of an appropriate response to their request. So I think that they have a deck, they can function off that deck as it exists. It's already within 10 foot of the property line. And I'm going to deny the deck, and I'm going to approve the addition to the front of the house.
Are you denying the deck in its entirety or the covered deck?
I'm denying the covered deck. I'm sorry.
This is an interesting one. All right, let's start with the addition. This is a constraints lot, and basically they're in lot width is their main issue, I think. And I think the addition is smartly designed. I think that to build dormers, we've approved dormers in the past for a very practical reason, and I think there's a practical reason in what they did here with the design. The deck gives me pause. I'm going to say I was looking to approve it, but I do have a little bit of pause about it. Look, I mean, at first glance, the deck extending the covered porch out doesn't, because it doesn't go beyond the side yard or the side of the house, it doesn't extend anything. It's like an extension of the house. I didn't think it was a big impact on the house. But, and then you look at the variance, the side yard setback, the variance is, for the rear yard variance is required because of the overhang, not the closed portion of the deck, of the house.
The overhangs
I mean,
on the house,
yeah, the overhangs.
Is on the addition.
That's correct.
The overhang is 45 feet.
No, I'm talking about this overhang here.
Mhm.
This overhang here. So on
Oh,
the
that
rear,
is-
on the rear
yeah,
part of it, there's the
extended.
overhang of the covered porch that is as part of, is the reason for that variance request. And again, I think, I thought it was de minimis. I didn't think it was, I think based on the size and the constraints of the property, I didn't think it was the thing. So I'm still in the camp of approving it on those on those parameters.
No factor for me on that too, though, Mr. Chair, was
Well, yeah,
the
let's
fact
talk
that
about
it's
it.
276 square feet, and that's how much they're looking to have the variance and being over maximum building coverage. And without that, they would not need that variance. They'd be conforming to the building coverage. As part of it, along with the pyramids and all the setbacks and dimensional setbacks.
And again, none of us are here to quote redesign the application, but when you look at it, you can imagine, again, the burden is on the applicant to say that they've looked at alternatives and there were no other alternatives that could have given them the benefit. I'm sure they want like a screened in area. There's a lot of mosquitoes in that area and there's a benefit, but I believe applicants have to come with that narrative.
But you're in the camp of approving the decks.
No, I
thought you were
denying the whole thing.
Oh, you
denied
denied the whole
yeah,
application.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's right.
No, I'm denying the decks, all of them, because to me, it's sort of one deck and it had setback variances. I don't mind as much the setback to the rear property line, I understood that, but the side yard setbacks in the pyramid was, and the coverage, because we don't generally, I haven't seen us make a lot of coverage
What's the variance
variances.
request on the coverage again? 100 square feet.
The total,
240.
240, and the covered deck is 276.
There's also pyramid variances associated with the covered
Right.
deck.
right.
And when I ask myself, is it necessary part of the project to allow these two pyramid violations for a covered porch? I think a covered porch would be nice to have, but I do think we start approving pyramid violations. It would be a little too casual for me to approve that.
I would agree with that sentiment as well.
I mean, that covered porch is a stretch for me.
Where it's positioned, right,
On
right.
the way it's positioned, the covering of it, extending it. Which is why I was okay with the other one. They could have their deck on the south side.
I'm going to agree with that. I think I'm going to agree with that, I would deny that proposed covered deck based on that evaluation, that it's not a necessity. And they could have done something to improve that. I would agree with that. So I'd be in the camp of approving the second story addition and the proposed deck, but deny the covered deck. I would be in that camp. Are we okay?
I got it.
Okay, thank you.
I got it.
Okay.
That's an interesting deliberation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an interesting application.
Okay, other decisions. Request to keep the record open for an additional 30 days on Sullivan, 165 South Edgemere Street in Montauk, Suffolk tax map number 300-27-3-17.3. Anybody have a problem with that? I don't.
I don't.
You want it for an additional 30 days? No, I have no problem with that.
No, I'm okay.
Fine.
With that, I'll make that motion.
Sure.
Jim Sullivan, 165 South Edgemere Street. I could have said so moved, but no. Montauk, Suffolk tax map number 300-27-3-17.3. To keep the record open for an additional 30
I
days.
second that.
Concur.
Concur.
Thank you. Minutes of approval, August 6th, 2024.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from August 6th, 2024 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
I'll second.
Concur.
Concur.
Concur, thank you. Resolutions, we have Richard and Michelle Feldman at 52 Maidstone Drive in Amagansett, Suffolk tax map number 300-174-6-16. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Yeah, I can make the motion. It's in Amagansett, right? Do you want me to summarize it or just make the motion?
Briefly, yeah.
Okay, so this is a 6,000 square foot lot in Beach Hampton, Amagansett. They've come in to expand the house by, I think, just under 50%, and redo the decking, bring the house up to sort of structural modern days. And then we had a lot of discussion during the public hearing about the new septic system, because it requires very significant retaining walls that run around the back and partially the sides of the house. And as a board, we talked a lot about the need for the septic system, but its potential impact on, the duneland character. All in, were we all five here? Were there four of us voting, right? Can't remember. I don't have it in front of me.
We're here.
We're all here. Okay, so, no, you were not here,
was
right?
not here.
So it was 4-person voting, 3 approvals and 1 dissent on the application. So I'd like to make a motion in the matter of the resolution in the matter of Richard and Michelle Feldman, 52 Maidstone Drive, Amagansett, Suffolk County, tax map 300-174-6-16. I make a motion to approve the determination as written.
Second.
I concur.
Concur, thank you. Next, we have Mary Lena at Dominic Marinelli at 257 Westlake Drive, Suffolk tax map number 300-12-3-23.
This was a 4-0, I believe, approval. I think so. I think the chair was not here for that. I think we had a 4-0
Yes.
approval. Yeah.
There was 1 dissent on there was 4-0 approving the pool, and then I dissented on the variance for the remaining patio where the kitchen is, but yeah.
Anyway, this was a project where a significant amount of work had been done without a permit. The applicant came in, was looking for looking for pool houses, and some other improvements, and they were willing to do a significant amount of revegetation and IA system, remove some of the work that had been done along the way that was done without the benefit of a permit. And we thought that in balance, although there were some negatives about the project as a whole, in balance, that the environment would be improved by the by us approving the application, and so it went as was just described in the vote. So then in the case of Maria Elena and Dominic Marinelli, 257 Westlake Drive, Montauk, Suffolk County, tax map 300-12-3-23, I'd like to make a motion to accept the determination.
I saw three things that might have been typos. Can I just
Yes,
raise them?
please.
So I think you talked about the covered deck between the two pool houses. Didn't they remove the roofing over that? So I think it's unroofed. And then in one part, you talk about revegetation of 500, sorry, I'm in section A2. You talk about the re-veg of the 5,000 some odd square foot number. Later in the, you talk about the 9,000 plus revegetation. So just wanted to make sure if those were supposed to be consistent.
Clear?
So,
Yeah, I actually, we went over this in my office when we're trying to be consistent in the project description, what was initially requested. So keeping that the same as what the public hearing notice was. That's why there's that footnote.
okay.
And then it sometimes doesn't actually end up being what was approved because there's changes. So that it might look different to you guys having the section A and then section on this one, it was J. Right, they're different, but that was intentional, trying to track what was requested versus ultimately what was approved. And those numbers were very difficult to work out. So there still might be a mistake if you think that. I can double check it.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Do we have a second? Oh, you made one, didn't you?
But it was interrupted, so.
Interrupted. So I make a motion to approve the determination as to be amended.
Second.
Thanks.
Concur.
Concur. Thank you. Vice Chair?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the zoning board meeting on August 13th at 8:31 PM.
Thank you.
Concur.
Concur. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Matt.
You got it. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, man.
Not Matt.
It is Matt.
It is a different Matt.
It was a different Matt.
Not even that. I don't think that was.
We got a lot of Matts around here.
The other Matt?
He's a Matt.
Other Matt.
He's a Matt.
It's a Matt.
He said he was a Matt. Before Jason came in to help out. Jason came to help.
Yeah, okay, that's really.
Thank you.